And for more on this, we're now joined in the studio by Professor Teng from Beijing Foreign Studies University. Welcome to the studio, Professor. So have you been watching these reality singing shows yourself?
I did check out one of those, for example, The Voice of China,
Yes.
which kind of a really impressive at the point when I was checking out last year.
So you're impressed?
I was very much impressed by the stories, by the singing,
the stories or the
and by
singing.
the performances, a whole lot of things on the stage.
But other than The Voice, we also have the Chinese version of American Idol. It's Chinese Idol. We have X Factor. We have
Absolutely.
China's Got Talent, and
Yes.
all these different
Yes.
forms of talent shows. What is your impression of the whole thing, the reality singing competition in general?
Well, the first one is always good. For example, The Voice of China, which is always very kind of a pioneering, creative, original, and in a sense, it is the leading kind of a program now being shown in China, and shown at the time back in 2012. But then, after second thought and after 2012, I think that see right now the numbers. I mean, in terms of the numbers, is really too many for me, and also in terms of the content. It's too homogeneous. It's the homogeneity that actually really depressed me this very time.
Wow. So when you look at these new policies being imposed by the government, by the watchdog of both press and TV industry, do you think they are well-grounded, these new policies?
Well, I think it's a very delicate question. It's a very interesting, delicate balance that we need to strike in between banning or restricting or letting the market actually do all what it wanted. To a large extent, I think it's high time that the broadcasting watchdog needs to regulate the market, because the homogeneity, because the kind of explosion in terms of the numbers of these programs, and also in terms of the content of the programs. What worries me so much is the content, and I think that the soft regulators also worries about the content. For example, the kind of excessive luxuriness, the kind of excessive materialism, the kind of excessive costume, and also in terms of interactions between the coaches, the judges, and also the competitors, the contestants per se.
But if you look at these responses, the feedbacks from the viewers, and if you look at the ratings, then they're extremely successful.
That's right.
In other words, people like to watch these programs. What's wrong with that?
Well, that's the problem with being democratic. This is a democratic market, and that's a democratic music market. But democracy back in ancient Greece meaning chaos. And that's why we need the regulator, we need SARB to regulate this very market. And for example, once again, the content, it seems to me rather kind of excessive in terms of being entertaining, without being meaningful, without being kind of deep, offering the depth in terms of criticism.
But in that regard, can we just let the market force play its role?
Well, the interesting and the ironic thing here in China is that sometimes the market didn't play the role of regulating itself. Industries never, to a large extent, the industry here in China fails to regulate itself. The industry seems to be like a train derailed with the huge inertia, kind of rushing into an unknown and uncharted water without being controlled.
Interesting. Well, I mean, certainly there is this singing reality show fever that is sweeping the whole world. It seems